What's going on, folks? It's Spark here, and welcome to episode 8 of my MyTeam career mode series. We are now coming up to the midway point of this 16-round season. We are at Hungary, and Hungary is the one where I feel the AI are a little bit OP, but we're going to see what we can do, especially now we've turned it up to 105 AI. If you're wondering what happened last time out on Silverstone, then I'll leave a card on the top of the video up there. Do go and check that one out to find out what happened. It was a hard race. It was a hard race, especially because we had contact with our teammate Ticton, which was certainly unfortunate. Not what we wanted at all. And it's kind of make or break for him because we got to decide whether we want to sign David Coulthard to our team. And with that, I think Coulthard is, for the money, I think is probably a higher prospect no matter what happens. I think probably with Ticton. And just as you saw there, I made a slight change to the livery. Just so on the halo now, I got rid of all the yellow streaks to show that the car is just going to be purely red and white, just like almost like the way it was back in Toyota, just to reflect more of the IIRL colours. As you see here, what's happening with the marketing department, and they want to do a campaign of sorts with Ticton, but I don't think it will help to hurt to do it. I think we've got plenty of cash in the bank, so we are going to we're probably thinking about accepting this one. And just like that, we have accepted it. And with off to Hungary. This is a track that I definitely struggle with because it's very... I don't think this car has a lot of capability in low speed. I do tend to turn up the wings quite high. So I think time travel... no, not time travel. Time trial setups, rather, tend to give a very, very good baseline, I feel. And just so you saw there, we had a upgrade fail, which we're going to... repackage as well, and onto the practice for Hungary, which I found very, very tricky. I'm definitely finding it harder to hit the resource goals. As you'll see here, I just about managed to do it, but as you see on the Delta, I lose so much time in the corners because I'm not quite sure where the grip is enough in the car, and I'm probably not short shifting enough when I need to. Haven't quite got the right setup there with the car, but me and Ticton are there pretty much together on pace, which is quite interesting. In terms of resource points, I was managed to get the whole lot with the development as well. So we're going to spend our resource points as much as we can. I've got a feeling, though, going into the next round, going into the next part of the season, that there are going to be some rule changes coming. Just so in Season 1, there were quite a few ones. There was one set of rule changes which meant we had to stop developing and make sure the car was as good as it was. And I get a feeling what is going to happen in this one. I could be wrong. I could be talking absolute smack, but I'd rather just be prepared to cover off any kind of threat of losing all of the developments that I have made throughout the season. So we go into qualifying, and this is a interesting one. I didn't do too well with the... qualifying times. I think with the cars here, we're actually going to turn ourselves up on the front wing just so we can get a little bit more grip. But 811 is sort of the setup I tend to go. It tends to do me pretty well around the Hungary track. Unfortunately, we just go way too wide there, and it just absolutely ruins our grip. So I think with these, where you're trying to maximize the line, you want to go outside as much as you can, but the curbs here are so punishing, and it's going to get to a point where I try to go outside so much, and just like that, I'll end up spinning the car. I know the next track, Spa, which is very, very bad for that. I'm just coming off the back of a social race I've just done with the league. The Spa track is certainly one to watch out for. So we set our first lap, and I definitely don't think for once we're going to be safe. It's a 14.9, and we know the cars are going to be faster than we're seeing. What I saw in my session, that the fastest time was around 1 minute 13, and the game still thinks, for some reason, to make Valtteri Bottas my rival this place, given my skill level, which is certainly not the case. As you guys seen, I'm definitely not the best player at this game. I'll be at that much for free. But going round into the next lap, and as we see, Nikita Mazepin just gets right in my way and just imitating his behaviour in real life F1, to be honest. It's I guess some people don't like being held up all the time. Will probably be some happy that he's out of Formula 1, but I'm not going to get involved in all the politics and that. We are going to up our time. We've got an improvement coming down here. We've got about 2 or 3 spots. We've got enough 2 or 3 tenths, but we've got enough time, recently, to attempt another lap. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're coming on to lap 3 of our qualifying run, and as you can see, we're down on the delta, but we make up a little bit more time to come out the exit at the first corner. DRS zone activated coming down into turn 2. We brake so early just so we can get the line that we need, but hit the throttle as quick as we can coming out of the long left-hander. As we come round to the next corner, and that's a 3, and look at that, we have crashed out. And just as I said about the curbs being so punishing in this track, we have unfortunately crashed out of qualifying for this Hungarian Grand Prix. And in terms of time, I mean, kudos to Tictum, he gets through to the next round, but our time really was only good enough for P19, for P18, P19. So, absolutely crazy in terms of what we've just experienced here, that even with that improvement, we're still so far down. And why this game thought it was a good idea to put Valtteri Bottas as my rival, I have no idea why. But what I am going to do is, we're starting from the back, so we might as well change our engine to take a whole fresh set of engine parts for the race, because this is a very hard track to overtake. You have to rely a lot on strategy to get moves done. But with a new power unit, hopefully that should help us.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. Historically a good race for first victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the first time here. We're northeast of Budapest for the race today at the 2.7 mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. Now, Anthony Davidson, I wonder, might we be in for some early pit stops today from the midfield teams, all trying to put some pressure on or disrupting things for the leaders up front?
If you're in the middle of the pack, you know, you got your own race to run, I don't think they're going to be thinking about causing trouble up front. However, closer to the head of the pack, don't be surprised to see some split strategies. If you're running second and third, for example, bringing one car in for an undercut while leaving the other one out there longer can put a lot of pressure on the leader and maybe force them into an error.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Tictum and Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel and Stroll, Tsunoda, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen and George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Mazepin and the owner driver. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure that's going to happen here, Jeff. I mean, we could do a one-stop strategy given how it's hard to pass here, so I can make some moves make some inroads on the pit stops, and then I'll just try to hold some people off. Fuel, I think, will go down to the bare minimum, but just looking where... Oh, Tictum's actually got in the top 10, so well done to him. Carrying the flag for II Racing as we come down to the start of the race. All 5 lights are on. What is going to happen for us? And the lights go out and away we go in Hungary, and it is a terrible start for us. A little bit too much wheel spin sends us into the wall. We drop behind the pack, way down behind Nikita Mazepin as we go down, and we absolutely yeet it into the first corner. We have to play it so carefully. We mount the curb to avoid contact as we got just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen.
Keep taking care of them.
We almost got a little bit of contact there, so we had to just check the car to see if the car was okay, and thankfully it was. Now behind his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi, we have to be so careful with the sim damage on as we come up to turn 4, and there we go, the Italian stays ahead of us, and we just have to calm down a little bit and set our pace settle down probably for the end of this lap, but we cannot afford to sit behind Giovinazzi for long. But the concertina in this game is a bit much for me. I think like you see just there in the corner there, I've dropped so far back already from Giovinazzi in just trying to be careful and trying not to go up his gearbox, and already Kimi Räikkönen is right on the back of us. So it's looking from that massive trail of cars that Tigton has held on to his position, and that's really good for us because that allows Tigton to be a bottleneck to enable us to go and catch the rest of the field. But we've got to stay behind Giovinazzi and not play anything too cavalier, especially in the first lap where everyone is still bunched up together. We still got a nice little tow behind the Alfa Romeo, and with overtake activated, it's not the best track to recover. As we go down to the inside in the first corner, we make the move on Giovinazzi. We nearly go into the back of the Aston Martin, which I think is Lance Stroll. So once again, we're going to find ourselves with who is, for me, our chief rival, our realistic rival in Sebastian Vettel. And speaking of Vettel, yeah, he is 2 cars ahead of us, and it really is Lance Stroll that we're following behind. And that's how big the concertina is. Even with the dynamic racing line, the way it's telling you to brake, it's so easy to just send it into the back of another car. But we've sat behind Stroll now for quite a bit now, and it's not going to be too we can't sit behind him for too much longer. We do have DRS and ERS activated. Stroll knows we're coming. We go down to the inside, we get our braking very late, and we do a double overtake on the Aston Martin. As if one wasn't enough, 2 we have to do, and we check the car for damage as there was a little bit of contact coming from the back of our pass on Vettel. As we go in, he almost turns in on us. It was a very late move for myself, but 2 and 1, I will happily take that as we clear our chief rival, as we now follow the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, who is in turn finding Lando Norris, and seeing those two fight each other, it should really be a chance to pounce. But this track is so narrow, it's so hard to overtake. So we just have to sit back, and this is how oversteery this car is. We try to the inside as these two fight on lap 5, but unfortunately Tsunoda has got it covered, and we just can't seem to capitalise. Even the fact that Norris doesn't have DRS, and already at the back Vettel is still gaining on us. As we come down to turn 3 on lap 5, Norris goes a little bit wide, but are we going to go around to pull off and move to the outside on turn 4? The curb punished us last time, but we get the move done on the McLaren of Lando Norris, and that was a brilliant overtake from us. Given everything that we've got to do, we are definitely faster than the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, and as you see on the end of lap 6, we catch back up to him. But my exits out of the last few corners are generally just not so good, even if I do have the downforce in the world to play with. But we're going to go down to the inside of Tsunoda, but we've overshot the corner. We overshot, and Tsunoda gets back ahead of us here onto lap 6. Well, fortunately, we were just... the overtake could have worked, but we were just too devilish on the brakes. We were way too careless, and we overshot it, and we probably lost about a second trying to overtake Yuki Tsunoda. As behind, as you catch up on lap 9, actually Charles Leclerc actually came into the pits. We finally overtake Tsunoda, and yes, we've just made it through, and very soon Leclerc will make his way past him. We decide to go a little bit longer on those medium tyres as we find the Ferrari, who has just come in for his pit stop. I imagine he must be on a 2-stopper, absolutely harassing the back of us here. As behind Tsunoda, I think is being overtaken maybe by the I think it was a McLaren. I couldn't quite see which one, but we have got ages to defend from Charles Leclerc. And the Ferrari is still quite powerful, even though we don't have the grip. He's going to have so much more grip than us coming into this into the start-finish straight. And it's almost pointless to defend. I mean, just let the Ferrari go, and I can just run my own race from there. We brake early, and we let Charles Leclerc through. And just like that, his exit's a little bit tentative, but we are not going to fight him. It's lap 11. We need to get these tyres through to probably about lap 17 or 18, just so... at least the hards won't go through a phase where we're losing so much grip. At least with the mediums, if we suffer now, that's going to pay us back much later in the race. So we've got 6 or a few laps to do, and I don't suspect we're going to hang on to Charles Leclerc, who immediately gets right onto the back of Daniel Ricciardo come lap 13. Now it's quite interesting because I don't think Ricciardo is actually stopped yet. So all the pace that we have, we could use that to get right back onto the back of Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc, as Antonio Giovinazzi actually retires from the session. We're going to go on board with him to see what the issue was, and it looks like that the car's just lost power. Yeah, you can see from just the screen after the Aramco boarding, he's blown his engine, so he's waiting for a place to pull off onto one side, and the guy who I overtook is on the first few laps is now out of the race. That should be it, sadly, for Italian Jesus, as coming on to lap 16, that's exactly what's happened. We have got ourselves back into play as the train of cars, which I still think is actually Dan Ticktum behind. Yes, that is Ticktum in front, so I think it surely must be him that's backing up all the other cars, and that's keeping me within play, so that's working out really, really well for us here. It's working really, really well, as yes, that is Ticktum in front, as Pierre Gasly comes into the pits, as does the McLaren as well of Ricciardo. We've only just got onto the back of Leclerc. We are now in the top 10. Thank you for telling us. And just in front of us, we come out in the middle of the leaders. We just come up behind Fernando Alonso, who has just come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Now, this is not a place where I feel like we needed to be. Yes, they're faster cars, but I don't want the pressure of faster cars coming out to overtake, because this is for position. I don't have to get out of the way for these guys, but I'd rather not deal with leading cars at the moment when I've got to potentially leapfrog or a few other cars in front of me with a strategy. We're going to choose to come in at the end of this lap, which saves us having to deal with the pressure of Lewis Hamilton on fresher tyres, which is a place I don't think, unless you're Max Verstappen who can handle the pressure, there's nowhere you need to be. We lock up a little bit and we understeer, but as we've just realised going into the pits, yes, Ticktum actually came in, so our strategy, we would have had to stack behind him if unfortunately we went into the pits with Dan Ticktum, so we've got to do another lap and lose quite a chunk more time as Lewis Hamilton overtakes us, and behind us we've got the Ferrari, which I think is Carlos Sainz. Yes, it is Carlos Sainz, who, like the leaders as well, has come in and has put on a new set of tyres. That is really hurting us. It's lap 18 and we've got to do another lap while everyone else can undercut us in fresh rubber. We're going to lose so much time. So we have got the strategy wrong for this Hungarian Grand Prix. Definitely not where we need to be at all. So after a lap of pain, we eventually came in, and there, at least the hard tyres would definitely get us through to the end. And we should be quite a bit faster on the other cars if we slam on the brakes to avoid getting a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And this is not what we wanted, as Ticktum, as you see, it is Ticktum that's holding everybody up. And I have to say, it's been a very, very good drive from him so far. We're the ones who have been slacking as we crashed out in qualifying. As we've just completed our pit stop, where do we find ourselves? We're going to be behind that trail of cars led by Ticktum. But I think we might just be behind the whole lot again. No, we're behind Esteban Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo. We're ahead of Tsunoda, though, at least, which is fine. And we're ahead of both Aston Martins of Stroll and Vettel. But currently, unless we pull off some bonsai overtakes right now, we're not going to be in the hunt for points at all. Which is, it feels strange to say. It feels like the roles have been reversed. It seems to be Ticktum's the one who's delivering, and we're the ones actually slacking off a little bit, the ones that we're not quite delivering, and it's a bad sign as the owner driver for the team. But I have to say, it is a lot to say about how the way Dan Ticktum is currently improving, despite his focus being as small as it is. We do catch up to the guys on lap 23, as now as you'll see, I am just in the DRS zone, and what you're about to see is just like in real life. I feel like I turn into Valtteri Bottas here, because I find it very, very hard to get on the power in the exit of the corners, which means DRS becomes kind of pointless in a way. As you can see, we still have the tyre life, so we have a couple of laps of tyre wear in our pocket over these guys, but they've got DRS. Everyone's got DRS off the back of Ticktum, as Bottas sets the fastest lap. Speaking of which, supposedly my chief rival. I suppose it's it's more the driver I'm sort of becoming more like at the moment, because we still can't seem to find a way past these guys. And see it for yourselves here. So we come down to the final corner, so we come down to the first of the 2 DRS zones on this track. This is how hard it is, I find, to potentially overtake around this track. It's slowing up to lap 24. Already Ocon's got such a gap, and despite having a Renault engine, which is the most powerful on the grid, we cannot make much inroads. I actually just realised Alpine is powered by Renault, so we're the customer team against the works team, and maybe the works team is just looking to, maybe the works team are just that much more powerful than us. But even as we get close, we're not going to attempt to overtake like we did to Lando Norris, because I can't risk the opportunity of not scoring points. Tictum is up ahead, and we need to make sure that we're scoring points as well, as we try a dive bomb on the inside of Ocon. But just like what happened with Tsunoda, we just could not make it work. And with Ocon having DRS, that means he's definitely safe, and we almost have to check our car for damage, because I thought we may have just tapped Ocon a little bit, but thankfully there's no damage on the car. But we just lost a chunk of time trying to overtake the Alpine. Esteban Ocon, who let's remember was the Grand Prix winner of Spain, is one step in between us as well as Daniel Ricciardo as well. One of 2 steps between myself and getting some points, and still on lap 28 we just cannot find a way past Esteban Ocon. So unless I dive bomb, but I don't want to risk contact with another car, then we are just going to suffer behind here. Then slowly but surely the opportunity of points just to slip away, and I just continuing to struggle here. That's how bad the dirty air is on this track. As you come down to lap 29, you'll see for yourself again, even if I do brake quite late, and just with this turn being so off camber as it is, I just can't quite get on the power, and it's so easy to spin the car. So it's just, I just cannot find a way past the Alpine. But it's all good for Tictum, because he's still up in about 8th or 9th place, which means he's getting the point. As we try another dive bomb and Ocon down the inside, and we just make the move stick. Finally, we have found ourselves a way past the Alpine and one step closer to the points. We've now got Daniel Ricciardo to pass, who is in a Mercedes, but we've got a little bit more time to make up on him, as I think we've actually just dropped out of DRS range thanks to the overtake on Ocon. But this is how tricky this track is. It's like it's very much like a go-kart track, because it's so narrow, but it's so twisty as well that you just find you could switch back on people and try and find a good way, but you just don't have the room on the track to actually make an overtake stick. So you just have to try the most risky of overtakes. And so unless you're Nigel Mansell in 1989 when he overtook everyone in the Ferrari, it just wouldn't quite work out. As you see, we've actually overfueled the car, because one thing I find with the strategies, it's better to overfuel than to underfuel. It may cost me a couple of tenths, but it's definitely sure that I can get round to the end. But as you come around to the last lap, we still haven't made our way past Daniel Ricciardo, and we've got one more lap to do. We just have to pray that McLaren makes a mistake. As we come down to turn 2, Max Verstappen wins the race, and that is just an indicator of how far we are behind Max Verstappen at 105 AI. We're nearly a lap down, which is absolutely crazy, because this timing sheets say that our car is the 3rd fastest, but either that's not the true story, or I'm just that bad and I can't quite unlock its potential. As we take too much curb and Ricciardo skids away from us, it's been a very, very tricky race for us that's going to yield us absolutely no points with the way it seems. We thought we'd take an engine penalty just to help us here, but looking at Ricciardo, he's just way too far ahead. But at least for Dan Tictum in our sister car, he's going to be coming through in what is, I think, 8th place to score 4 points, which I have to say is a brilliant, brilliant drive for him. We just didn't have the race pace today on this very, very tricky track, and while we finish ahead of Vettel, there's GG's to us, but unfortunately, no points this time around.
And bring it home.
victory in Budapest then, and what a victory it is after an incredible Grand Prix. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Nearly a whole lap down on Red Bull. And this game is making Valtteri Bottas my rival. It's probably the kinder option, all things considered. But an absolutely tricky race from us. But I have to say, kudos to Dan Ticktum for what is a brilliant drive. As you'll just see there, I've taken a few screenshots to work out the thumbnail for this. But I think us crashing in qualifying essentially what did the damage, and I think the track is very kind to the AI. They're very, very strong, and I just can't seem to find a way past. I see I've got quite a few screenshots you will have just seen. We nearly went a lap down, but at least Ticktum got some points, and I'm about to lose a chunk on my rivalry with Valtteri Bottas. But I think this is a very sobering race going into we're going into the summer break, which, let's be honest, I definitely need in this season. We're still 7th in the championship, behind Lando Norris, after a couple of freak results where we were still running on the 100 AI. We turned it up as we felt that it was pretty much time, and see if I can go and find that extra couple of tenths and a little bit more practice. But we're P6 in the championship, and I think for all things, it's definitely going to help us. We just got to make sure, we just got to keep scoring points, because if we don't, then we're going to lose our standard. We're going to lose all that prize money coming near to the end. So Valtteri beats us 2 out of 5 to 2, and is 6-13 ahead of us. So I don't know why the hell this game chose to make him a rival. I don't think I could say that enough in this video. GG's to Ticktum. But now going into the summer break, we've got to think about a position in the championship and whether Ticktum could make things stick the way he is. Like, we ideally need some pace, and I don't think it's going to come from me anytime soon. So I think, well, you're going to have to wait to find out to see what I'm going to do with Dan Ticktum on the next episode, which is going to be the Belgian Grand Prix. Round 9 of the 16-round season in my MyTeam career mode. So guys, I think I'll end the video there. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you did enjoy this video, then do leave a like and subscribe to the channel as well if you see more regular game content. Leave a comment as well if you're enjoying the series, if there's anything you want to see in this particular My Career mode. I'm hoping to get a PC soon so I can move on to then and start modding the career mode soon. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, so we'll just stick with the Xbox for now. But tune in next time to find out what we're going to do with our driver lineup. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Spark. See you guys for the next video. Bye bye.